Is now.
Good evening. Welcome to the Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District Board of Directors meeting for February 13th. Let's call the meeting to order, and if we can get a roll call, please.
Yes, Director Sailors,
Present.
Director Stark,
Here.
Director Weber,
Present.
Director Clark,
Present.
Director Rice,
Present.
Director Jones,
Here.
President Wood.
Here.
Thank you. And for the record, Directors Costa and Gould are absent this evening, and they let us know that beforehand. And also our General Counsel, John Lavra, who's usually here, is participating remotely, and we have confirmed he is on Zoom.
Great. Thank you
you.
so much. Director Rice, would you lead us in the pledge?
Yes. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll start off with the Metro Cable announcement. Those wanting to watch this meeting in the future are able to see it on metro14live.saccounty.gov. Today's meeting will be replayed at 6 o'clock on Monday, February 17th, and again at 2 o'clock on Wednesday, February 19th, 2025 on Metro Cable Channel 14. The recording of this meeting can also be viewed on demand at youtube.com/metrocable.14. Now is the time for a public opportunity to discuss matters of public interest on or not on the agenda. Do we have any speakers?
Yes, I have one speaker card from Andrew Whaley.
Mr. Whaley, welcome.
Good evening, Board, Chief House, members, brothers and sisters. I'm told that my name is on the agenda tonight for retirement purposes. And I just wanted to come up here and say a few words, and Chief House said to say it from the heart like Whaley would, so I will. This has been a great career with this agency. The relationships I've formed over the years, not only the board members, the fire chief, a lot of the people in this room. It's just been a great ride. And I just wanted to thank the board and the administration and the members for making this such a great place. I can't say what I want to say, because what I want to say is this is an amazing agency. When I walked in 25 years ago for my interview, I knew nobody in this department. And Captain Rice, now Director Rice, walked in there with that stern face and scared the shit out of me. Back then they weren't giving jobs away back then. It was thousands of people showing up for jobs, for interviews. And at some of these places, I just was almost giving up, that it was gonna be impossible, but this place gave me a chance. And that guy gave me a chance. And then when our class got together, I met Recruit House, and Recruit Cole, Recruit Barthel. Sorry if I missed anybody in the room, but 25 years ago we started on a rainy winter like this, and like that it's over. But I have immense amount of respect for the board of directors. I have relationships with a number of you. I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for this place taking a chance on me, and I'm going to miss it. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that comment, Mr. Whaley. We'll move on to our...
Let me just check online real quick. Do we have any speakers online via Zoom? If you'd like to make a public comment, please use the raise your hand feature. No.
Thank you so much. We'll move on to our consent calendar. Do we have any questions on the consent? Director Sailors, my apology.
I would like to make a comment
By all means,
for Captain Whaley.
by all means.
When I got elected back in December of 2018, before I got elected, I went to the fire stations in my district and introduced myself as someone who was running for election to be in this position up here. And at 26, I was met by the most kind Captain, Andy Whaley. Thank you for being that person. You have been an immense help for me to be into this position and a good friend. Thank you very much. That's all, thank you.
Director Rice?
And just, Andy, one of my best friends in the world. And from the first day I met you, I will never forget the interview panel. We always ask the rote questions, you know, what's one of the most proudest things you've done in the workforce? He didn't even flinch. He said, I spent whatever it was, 4 or 6 years in the United States Navy. I'm pretty proud of that. And Andy, your bar was high from the day I met you. And I could see that. A friendship with you was natural. It was fun to fraternize that nobody knew that, giving him surf reports while he was in the academy. And I think we did go surfing within days of that graduation. But watching your career, watching your family, your wife Kathy, your kids, I love you, and it's just an honored friendship. And I'll leave it at that. More adventures to come. Love you, brother.
Chief House?
We use words like honor, and it's a word I cherish. I want everybody to understand what my friend Andy Whaley did with that word in our organization in CPF. And 522 is he helped establish the honor guard in this area. You are a vital role in there. I don't want to take anything sidestepping that, Andy. I cherish that word. We've had humble conversations about the word of honor. You are truly a man of honor. Thank you for what you've done for this organization, and respect to all of the families out there that you've participated in. Come back up, because I got to shake your hand real quick.
Director Weber?
One more thing, Andy, short and sweet, but you had mentioned this at graduation, or not graduation, but a retirement many, many years ago. This is true to you as well. You are the man, the myth, the legend, my friend. You are unbelievable. So congratulations.
All right, we'll move on now to the consent calendar. Do we have any comments on the consent? I'll take a
Mr.
motion.
Chair, I so move.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Can we get the roll, please?
Yes, Director Saylors,
Aye.
Director Stark, Director Clark,
Aye.
Director Rice,
Aye.
Director Jones,
Aye.
Director Weber,
Aye.
and President Wood.
Aye.
Thank you, motion passes.
Great, thank you. We'll move on to presentation items. We have District Policies 2024 Year-End Review. Melissa Maddox, welcome.
Good evening, directors. I'm Melissa Maddox, the Chief Human Resource Officer for the district. Tonight, I am here to just do, as I did last year, a year-end review for all of our policies and the progress that we're making and the stuff that we're working on for the upcoming year. I know we have new directors, and maybe some of you missed it last time, so we're going to kind of go through it again for anybody who missed it. So. But before I jump into the PowerPoint slides, I just want to provide a little bit of background on how we got here in regards to our policy review process. So first and foremost, I know Director Costa is out tonight, but I do want to thank him. He does meet with me and Leslie pretty regularly, and we really appreciate his feedback and his direction and assistance with things that we're working on. So I just wanted to thank him first and foremost. And I also do want to recognize our HR analyst, Leslie Miller. She is really the backbone of all of our policies. She handles them all from beginning to end. She's the one working with division managers. She's the one working with 522. She's the one working to get our policies through our review tracking system and our sign-off system, and then she hands them to me, and I'm the one that presents them, so I don't want to stand here and take credit for all the policies, so I just want to recognize her for that. So a little bit of history on how this review process started. It goes kind of as far back as 2011, when the board at the time decided which policies would be board policies, which ones would be administrative policies. And then we also have other policies, general policies that are more specific to other divisions, like operations policies or peace officer policies. Those are all separate from the admin or the board policies. As you know, all the administrative policies go to policy committee, and then those don't need to go to full board, and then all of the board policies go to the policy committee for referral to full board for final approval. Additionally, back then, the board had agreed to, all of our job descriptions are also considered administrative policies, but at the time, the board had decided to not have all the job descriptions come to policy committee, just so it wouldn't hold up the process of constantly reviewing and editing our job descriptions, which change, not drastically, but they do change, especially every time we're doing a recruitment. We want to make sure everything's up to date, and so if we have to wait till the next policy committee, it kind of slows down that process. So at the time, the board had said, as long as you follow this particular template, we're good with not reviewing any changes to the job description, and we still use that template to this day. We've made a couple little changes to it here and there just to be more uniform and more modern, I guess, from back in 2011. So, also, I just want to point out again that this is all subject to change. We haven't addressed this with, like I said, since 2011. Any of this process is subject to change by the board of directors, so at any time we can change that process or reevaluate what's a board policy, what's an administrative policy. So the big question is what actually makes, what's a board policy and what makes it an administrative policy? I did meet with Council Lavra, and of course, as any attorney, it's a gray area. So the best definition he could give me, and I'll quote, basically he said, a board policy is a larger policy statement on certain subjects that cover all employees on matters over which the board wants to set the basic rules. Basically a policy that they do not want to leave to the discretion of management. Alternatively, the admin policy is a policy which controls the specifics of day-to-day operations, which the board normally would not want control over and which they might want to leave to the discretion of management. So for example, a board policy might be all employees who work more than 40 hours a week shall be paid overtime. But an admin policy might be something that all employees working overtime shall, get prior approval from a supervisor if possible and turn it in 2 days before the request or something like that. It's more of a process versus this is what it is. So again, it's all in the board discretion, and you can decide to legislate that any policy could be a board policy, but we do have well over 200 policies, so that's up to you. So that's just a little bit of a history of how we got here. And I know Director Costa, like I said, is meeting with us quarterly and, trying to understand what our process is and giving us suggestions, and it's been really working well, and we really appreciate his efforts on that. So So just to go through some of the progress we made last year. Oh, sorry, did I go too fast? So, oh, I did. Okay, so last year, the completed policies, we completed 53 policies last year in 2024. 7 were administrative, 3 were board, 3 were general, 4 were operations, 10 were peace officers, 6 were support service policies, and then 20 job descriptions. And again, as I said earlier, the job descriptions, are, even though they're an administrative policy, they don't come to policy committee as directed by the board, in the past. So some of the administrative policies that did come to policy committee that we brought were the district vehicle use policy, the donated leave policy for both represented and unrepresented employees, reinstatement rehire policy, sick leave policy, timekeeping and attendance policy, 56-hour alternate assignment policy, and again, 20 job descriptions, which are also administrative policies, but you didn't have to go through all of those, so. Got a little pause, I don't want to get ahead of myself. Okay, some of the completed board policies that we brought is the FMLA policy, non-discrimination policy, and the travel and conference policy. As I said last year, you'll probably see the FMLA policy almost every year because it's one of those policies that is always changing year to year. Based on California law, federal law, there's always a change to it every year, it seems like, so you'll see that one quite often. Some of the policies that we have in process for 2025. So far, we have 37 policies kind of on our list of things that we're focusing on. 12 are administrative, 6 are board, 4 operations, 5 support services, and 10 job descriptions. Number could go up and change depending on our recruitment efforts or new positions that may be created, that kind of thing. Some of the administrative policies that we have in process specifically are the day staff business dress uniform policy, discipline policy, which the policy committee reviewed tonight. And again, that's an administrative policy, so it doesn't need to come to full board, but the policy committee did get a chance to look at that earlier. The donated leave policy, represented, unrepresented. We have more changes to that again this year, like we did last year. Driver's license policy, leave of absence, public records request policy, and I think I have a few more. And then records retention policy, reinstatement, rehire policy, return to work after an extended absence policy, rules and regulations policy, which is probably one of our oldest policies. Social media policy, and again, more job descriptions. Some of the board policies that we have in progress that as a full board you will eventually see once it goes through the administrative or the policy committee include the drug and alcohol-free workplace policy, which we're actually really close to completion. We've been working closely with 522 on that one, so we're really close. The equal employment opportunity policy, purchasing and contracting policy, non-retaliation policy, workplace harassment policy, workplace violence policy. I think that was it, unless that's slowing down. There we go. So that's basically everything that we have in process for next year. If there's any policies that, that need to be focused on more, feel free to let us know. We do work closely with 522 on all the policies, and they are part of our tracking system and review system. So, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have, or.
Director Sailors.
Yes, I have a question. I'm on the policy committee.
Yes.
My concern is that some of our policies are very old and very outdated. Is there a way maybe that we can consider having an outside professional policy company come in and help us?
We can definitely look into that to see if we can find a company that fits our needs for sure. We have implemented a 5-year review of all of our policies, and that's one of the things Director Costa has been helping us with. Of course, we have to focus on the more important policies, like the FMLA policy. It's more of a legal thing, but we're trying to get on a track where all of our policies are reviewed at least every 5 years, or when there needs to be a change. If there's a change in the law, if a division needs are changed, like the peace officer policies, if something changes, that kind of like gets bumped to the front of the line. So, but we're trying to get on a 5-year track, so.
Okay,
But
so
we'll definitely look into that.
please do.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. Yes, that's what I would,
It's a lot of work, but
yes. Because it's a lot of work trying to keep track of, keeping track of which laws change and when they change and what the time limit is to update the policies.
oh yes,
Yeah, I understand
Yep.
that. So,
we don't want to get behind.
no, thank you. Thank you very much.
Any other comments for Ms. Maddox? No? Thank you so much, appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
All right, moving on in the presentation items, we have Aaron Castleberry to talk about Measure O General Obligation Bond Management Plan.
Good evening. Tonight, we are here to provide an overview of our management plan for the district's new general obligation bond program based on the successful passage of Measure O in November. We're going to outline the purpose and intent of the management plan, introduce the program management team, dive into some of the key components of the bond program, and provide a look at our implementation plan for 2025. As you know, Measure O represents a significant community investment in the district's infrastructure that enables us to maintain and improve emergency response capabilities in support of our mission. Measure O authorizes the district to issue up to $415 million in bonds to improve and expand fire stations to meet growing community needs, to acquire life-saving emergency vehicles and equipment, and to enhance our training facilities to ensure that our personnel are well prepared to respond to all of the calls that they get. Our management plan serves as a blueprint for how we intend to deliver on our promises to the community. It represents a deliberate and intentional approach to implementing Measure O in a way that meets our critical needs while ensuring alignment with our strategic priorities and, of course, upholding public trust. So we do want to be clear about what this plan is and what it isn't. So the plan is intended to be a communication tool that sets expectations around program administration, and also a framework that shows the coordination across the key components of the program, including who's responsible for what, and estimated timelines for year 1 implementation. What it is not is a static document. It's going to evolve as we move through this process and as the program is implemented. So obviously this is not a 1-year program, so what we've outlined here is an implementation plan for year 1. This will evolve as the program rolls out, of course. It's also not a guaranteed fix for everything. The plan recognizes that Measure O is not a standalone solution to all of the district's infrastructure needs, and it'll be utilized alongside other resources to meet priority needs. So strong management and oversight are going to be essential to the success of this bond program. The board, of course, provides the highest level of program oversight and will be responsible for approving how bonds will be issued and how bond funding will be spent. And the board will also ensure independent oversight of the bond program by establishing a Citizens Oversight Committee. And that committee will be responsible for reviewing bond program expenditures to confirm that they are in alignment with Measure O's voter-approved intent. The fire chief and his executive team are responsible for oversight of the bond program management team and the approvals that go along with this process. And then, of course, the bond program management team is responsible for the day-to-day administration of the program, and is made up of the leads for each of the key components of the program, which we're going to go through here shortly. So let's take a closer look at these 4 key components. Transparency and accountability are at the core of this plan. Measure O stipulates that an independent citizens oversight committee will be established for the purpose of ensuring that bond funds were spent in accordance with the purpose outlined in the voter-approved ballot measure. And this process upholds our commitment to public trust and responsible governance. The clerk of the board, Marnie Rittberg, will manage this key component of the bond program, as the board is the one ultimately that holds the responsibility for establishing and appointing the oversight committee. The board recently stood up an ad hoc committee at our last meeting, the last board meeting, whose purpose will be to develop a recommendation, a recommended implementation plan for the establishment of the oversight committee. The plan will include a recommendation on committee structure, composition, selection process, et cetera, with the intent to have an oversight committee in place by the end of the calendar year. You can expect that the ad hoc committee will be bringing this recommendation to the board in April. Ensuring that bond funds are used efficiently and deliver maximum impact requires effective project planning. The district's planning process prior to Measure O already identified an extensive list of capital needs required to maintain existing levels of service and meet anticipated future service needs. These needs were the basis of the Measure O bond project list that was described in the ballot measure, which included, of course, as you know, fire station construction, expansion, and improvement projects, emergency vehicle, equipment acquisition and replacement projects, and sorry, everyone, we went too far. The clicker's not working anymore here, Ethan. And training facility construction and expansion projects. It's the slide prior to this. There we go. All right, we're gonna give it another shot. Here we go. All right, eligible projects will be submitted, evaluated, prioritized, and approved through the annual capital improvement plan process. We already have this process in place to do exactly this. So we'll be using this process to evaluate these projects. And Measure O funding basically is just an additional funding source to fund our capital improvement plan. As your CIP administrator, I am responsible for leading this component, and we expect that the first projects that would be utilizing Measure O funding would be rolled out starting in this next fiscal year, which you'll hear more about in the coming months. We're right in the middle of our CIP process right now. A whole bunch of projects have been submitted, and next month, our CIP committee will be reviewing and ranking all of the proposed projects. Responsible financial management is a cornerstone of our plan. Issuing bonds requires compliance with a large variety of legal, financial, and regulatory frameworks. So in order to ensure successful program implementation with these frameworks, the district is assembling a team of specialty consultants to provide comprehensive municipal advisory services related to the planning, structuring, issuance, and post-issuance compliance of the bonds. Our Chief Financial Officer, Dave O'Toole, is leading this key component of the bond program. We do anticipate issuing bonds over the next 10 years in multiple series, with the first proceeds expected in the next fiscal year. By adhering to strict financial controls, we will ensure that funds are used effectively while minimizing the financial burden on taxpayers on our community. There is an action item on tonight's agenda that Dave will be talking about. So following that, we anticipate next month to be assembling the rest of our consultant team. Finally, we recognize that clear communication is essential for ensuring transparency and accountability as Measure O is implemented. With this in mind, our Director of Governmental Affairs, Kyle McDonald, has taken the lead on internal and external communications and is responsible for developing a strategic communications framework to ensure timely and accurate information sharing with our members, with the board, and the community we serve. Through these efforts, we will keep all of our stakeholders, both internal and external, informed and engaged throughout the life of the bond program. We expect that the communications plan will be finalized by the end of this month. All right, so our implementation plan for year one, which is calendar year 2025, is structured around milestones for each of the key components of the bond program. The timeline we're going to present here generally describes the critical path items for program implementation in year one. So key activities in quarter one are establishing the Citizens Oversight Committee, having the board formally approve that process and get that process rolling. Project identification and selection, so projects being submitted, evaluated, and ranked by the CIP committee, and the draft CIP being prepared in quarter one. For financial management, we anticipate the municipal advisor contract executed and onboarding our other specialty consultants, including bond counsel, underwriters, et cetera. And then for internal and external communications, just finalizing that communications plan, including what our intended messages are, how we plan to roll it out along milestones of the program, and what channels we will use, and how people can provide feedback. Quarter two activities include the ad hoc committee, bringing back that recommendation to the board, recommended projects and the financing plan for the CIP being reviewed by the executive team, and the CIP being formally approved by the board in June. And then also having our bond structure finalized and a bond issuance plan brought to the board as well for approval. Quarter three, everything we've already said will still be going on, rolling forward. Additionally, we anticipate we will likely be opening our selection and application process for the Oversight Committee. Project implementation will start because we'll be in our next fiscal year. And then we anticipate sometime in quarter three, our bond sale closing and the proceeds being received by the district. And then in quarter four, that's the very end of the year. Like I said earlier, we intend to have our Oversight Committee in place by the end of the year. So the responsible management of the Measure O bond program will support all 5 key strategies of the board's strategic plan by enhancing emergency response capabilities, maintaining and improving facilities, vehicles, and equipment, ensuring our infrastructure supports the safety and well-being of our members, promoting fiscal responsibility through the efficient use of funds, and building trust through transparent communications. Measure O represents a transformational investment that directly aligns with our mission to provide professional and compassionate protection, education, and service to our community. Through this management plan, we are well positioned to safeguard the public's trust in our agency to carry out that mission. That concludes our presentation. We thank you for your time tonight, and we're happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you so much, Ms. Castleberry, for that. That was very thorough and very easy to understand a very complex subject, so I appreciate that. You and your team, Kyle, Jeff, Jake, all deserve significant kudos for the work you've done so far putting this together, the work you did to get this thing passed. All of our members that work so tirelessly on their free time to get it passed, everyone deserves a great round of thanks and appreciation for that. So looking forward to getting this going in the future. Do we have any other comments, questions for Ms. Castleberry? No? Wonderful.
Great,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
All right. Moving right along, we have, our first action item is apropos of what we just heard. I need to make a change to the Measure O Citizens Oversight Ad Hoc Committee. We have had, we did a couple of nomination, put 3 of our members on last meeting, and I need to replace one. So the way this is worded, I'm going to renominate 3. So I will nominate Directors Jones, Sailors, and Stark to be members of the ad hoc committee. I got a second for that nomination?
All right. Director Sailors.
Aye.
Director Stark. Director Clark. Director Rice.
Aye.
Director Jones.
Aye.
Director Weber.
Aye.
President Wood.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on, item number 2, action item number 2, we're going to adopt a resolution for a contract award. That's going to be presented by CFO Dave O'Toole. Welcome.
Thank you, and good evening, Mr. Chair, board members, Fire Chief House, colleagues, members of the public. Sort of apropos of what Ms. Castleberry just presented, this is related to Measure O, of course. I'm seeking your approval to execute a contract with K&N Public Finance to perform municipal advisory services, we call MAs, related to the issuance of Measure O. And the MA is a critical component to delivering those projects, helping to guide the district towards affordable, prudent, and timely debt issuances. So really making the best of our taxpayer dollars. Assignments for the municipal advisor will include financial planning and structuring of the bond issuance, legal and regulatory compliance, credit rating and investor relations, procurement and coordination of the financing team, which we just mentioned would include the bond counsel and the underwriters, documentation and disclosure support for pre-issuance compliance, so preparing an official statement that would go out to the potential bond buyers, bond issuance and sale, and then finally post-issuance and compliance reporting. In December, we issued an RFP for this municipal advisory services and received 5 very qualified responses. And after reviewing the 5 responses, staff unanimously recommends K&N Public Finance, who provided the most complete set of services at the lowest price and was very highly recommended too. The estimated cost is approximately $60,000 per bond sale, and the district estimates making between 3 or 4 bond sales over the 10-year period. If you concur with the recommendation to adopt the resolution awarding the RFP 24-04 to K&N Public Finance, the district will execute and administer a professional services agreement to bring them on board as our municipal advisor. And so with your approval, the MA will then assist us, as we just saw, in moving on to the rest of the financing team, underwriters, and bond counsel. That concludes the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. O'Toole. Do we have any comments or questions? Director Rice.
Mr. O'Toole, one, thank you very much. And just a kind of a look back on the RFP process, were you satisfied with it? Did it go through smoothly without any extraneous challenges or anything like that? You're happy with the process?
Yeah, very happy. And of course, I oversee procurement, so I'm a little bit biased. But no, we had 5 very strong responses. Aaron Castleberry was on the review team, Controller Ron Empedrad, so the best, most qualified people we have to review these. Very happy.
Any other comments or questions for Mr. O'Toole? I'll entertain a motion then on the action item.
I so move.
Second.
Got a motion with Director Clark and a second with Director Weber. Can we get the call?
Yes. Director Sailors.
Aye.
Director Stark.
Aye.
Director Clark. Director Rice.
Aye.
Director Jones.
Aye.
Director Weber.
Aye.
President Wood.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. O'Toole. Our next item is also yours, the Memorandum of Understanding with Sac County.
Thank
Welcome
you.
again.
Thank you. This item actually has a relation to Measure O as well, which I'll get to at the end. But first off, I'm seeking your approval for the Memorandum of Understanding with the County of Sacramento to invest special projects fund balances in a fund outside of the county treasury. State law permits special districts to make these investments of non-operational funds outside of state treasury, and that's what we're proposing here tonight. With the assistance of Sacramento County's Treasurer's Office, we put together the MOU, and it allows us to invest funds with CalTrust. And if you're not familiar with CalTrust is a Sacramento-based joint powers authority created by public agencies back in 2003. And it's to enable public agencies like ourselves to pool their investment assets for improved returns in similar short-term investments with no additional risks. Funds on deposit with CalTrust can be withdrawn the same day at no charge. And let's see, using the current spending plan for the Zinfandel project, if you recall, the special project fund is just for the Zinfandel project. We could conservatively invest about $9 million for 1 year and earn additional revenue of about $70,000 relative to what we now earn with funds on deposit with the county. So if $70,000 doesn't sound like a lot to you, that's where I get back to Measure O. I would offer that this investment proposal, this MOU that we're putting forward can also be considered sort of a test, and we see how it goes, and if the returns were exceptionally satisfied with the returns, we could also set up this type of account with the for Measure O funds. And of course, we would be coming back to you, just as we are tonight, for S funds to invest those Measure O funds if we get to that point. So for tonight, really, I'm just asking for the authority on investing the S funds in CalTrust.
Do we have any questions of Mr. O'Toole? Director Weber?
So you say that we're pooling with other agencies. How do we ensure that whatever we put in and the return on that, other folks don't get their hands in our pie? How does that work?
It's invested in a pooled fund, but it just as a personal investment, it's your money to take out at the time that you choose. It's a large enough fund where
Okay,
would not need that.
that's fine. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from Mr. O'Toole? All right, I'll entertain a motion now on item number 3.
I'll make the motion, please.
Got a motion from Director Weber and a second from Director Stark. We can get the roll, please.
Yes, Director Saylors,
Aye.
Director Stark, Director Clark, Director Rice, Director Jones, Director Weber,
Aye.
President Wood.
Aye.
Thank you, motion passes.
Thank you so much. The next two action items, 4 and 5, are going to be addressed when we come back out of closed session. So we'll move on now to reports. The President's report, I have nothing to report. Move on to the Fire Chief.
Good evening and welcome. Directors, colleagues, members of the public, what a great night. And I'd be remiss, because I recognize that we forgot somebody in the audience with this profession taking a toll on the amount of hours we have to put in. I want to publicly acknowledge Kathy Whaley that's in the audience and thank Kathy for you and your family for sharing Andy with us and this organization and your commitment. I've got to know you and your family well over the years on different occasions, but know that you helped change this community and save lives also. Thank you, Kathy. With that, I wanted to follow up. We had a public comment presented to you last time about a concerned citizen. I want to thank Chief Nygren and her team with the follow-up. We got that citizen directed over to Sacramento County Fire Fuel Reduction Team, and they're going to go through, they've evaluated that process. They're going to go through with their team in May of 2025 to begin clearing that area of his concern. So that public address and our collaboration worked extremely well to satisfy that citizen in reducing that fuel load in that property. And I know Director Stark, I believe that's in your area. So just I wanted to report back that we provided closure to that citizen and well received. I wanted to give some updates and acknowledgments. And, you know, we have extremely talented people in this organization, as you guys have always said and acknowledged our talent of dedicated members. And tonight, I want to recognize Fleet Manager Shay Purcell. He's been recognized at the national level, and he has been selected to chair the NFPA Technical Committee with NFPA 1910, and he has full executive support to go forward with this recommendation, and I believe you accepted that. So, Shay, thank you for your skill set, your talents over the years, and your dedication not only to our organization, but the fire service nationally, and this is a recognition of that. Thank you, sir, for stepping up and doing that. Metro Fire Citizens Academy started 2 weeks ago. It's happening every Wednesday. Battalion Chief Brian Barthel, April West, and everybody involved, and I know some of the directors have been out to observe that. I got to kick that off, and I think I went way over time talking to that group. Some of them pinged me on multiple media sites at home afterwards, so it was received exceptionally well, and it's another opportunity of branding and really letting our citizens, especially at the time of Measure O, to really understand what this organization does. And we really started off, and I think put, as we always do, our best foot forward, but we demonstrated how this organization is truly an all-risk organization. We really help out the community in all facets. So kudos to Chief Barthel and April Rest and everybody involved with that, and that's going to continue, I believe, for 6 weeks. And there's already a waiting list and a request for a second academy, so huge win. And that was a representation of professionals across the communities, executives, former OES directors, to nonprofit directors, a bunch of our stakeholders, good cross-pollination and representation of the district's community. About 18 months ago, you heard from me in one of my interviews about something I had a passion for, and that was a program called No Child Eats Alone. We were able to finally get past some of the live scanning requirements with a new superintendent with Folsom Cordova. He met with me on his day 2 of appointment, and he said, I heard you're talking about this. How can I help? And he was able to get us through having to go through some of those requirements from, as you can imagine, the schools being shut down for active shooters and that type of stuff. And we kicked that off on February 7th. Chief Wilburn and I joined the superintendent and the Rancho Cordova mayor, and it was overwhelmingly, hugely popular. But my observation is that really we went through the lunch line, we got a lunch, and I turned around to find the child that was literally eating alone. The bond that I made with that child and the emotional impact that had on that child was remarkable to me, but I stuck around for a little while, and I looked through the chain link fence to observe that child afterwards, that the teacher, the custodian said that child always plays on the playground alone. After we showed up, that child was with a bunch of friends, and it did exactly what it was intended to. Made him the most popular kid on campus. So very personally rewarding, but Chief Wilburn, thanks for your stubbornness to follow through and assist in getting through what I call some of the bureaucratic mess that really is a reflection to where if we are persistent, we can achieve anything. So it was a success for those kids, and I know the impact it will make will change lives ultimately, and we will continue to do that. Our goal is to hopefully do that in every school district that we serve, and it gains momentum across Sacramento, but up and down the state, and it's already getting a lot of views, obviously, so maybe it'll take off even further than that. So very humbling experience, I have to say. And then the last thing I have is Phil the Boot. I saw a lot of you out there, and thank you for the assistance on the Chiefs Challenge Day. I want to report back that successful year again, 185,000 plus was raised. Joe Pick was extremely happy and satisfied and full of joy, even with the rain that happened the first day when we were standing out there. I know Director Stark, we were getting pretty wet, so what a good event. The Chiefs Challenge, even with all the collection, I think if they didn't pre-fund it, I know that Metro would have won. But they allowed pre-funding, and as you go through the airport, you see Sacramento County Airport crews out there collecting funds. So they came in with $20,000. So Chief Brett with Sacramento County Airport secured the win, and he collected a total, although not that day, he collected a total of $44,000. And ultimately, it was a success for the Burn Institute, and that was the ultimate win. So a great drive again and great push, and that's going to obviously continue to make us the premier Burn Institute, in our area. So that's the end of my report for tonight, unless you have any questions.
Any questions for the chief? No? Great, thank you. Next up, we have the operations report. Deputy Chief Mitchell, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, President, Directors, Chief House, colleagues, members of the public. Tonight's operations report is going to be the Shift Commander Spotlight being the star of the show. So I'd like to ask Shift Commander Rudnicki and Battalion Chief Sloan to come on up and join me to recognize one of our valuable members and thank them for their service. So, Chiefs.
Hello, Board, Chief House, colleagues, members of the public. John Rudnicki. I'm honored to serve as the C-Shift Commander. And with me tonight is Battalion Chief Mike Sloan, and Chief Sloan's had a long history with our CERT program. And we're so excited tonight to have many of our CERT members with us, in particular to highlight one of our long CERT members who served this district for many, many years. So with that, I'll kick it over to Chief Sloan.
Good evening. Today we're here to honor Harry Belt. Harry's been a member of our CERT program for the last 15 years. Over the last 15 years, our CERT program has gone through and done tremendous changes and adapted to the times radically. Probably 15 years ago, they were doing mainly outreach programs where they would go and they'd do the fairs and they'd give out information on Metro Fire. Systematically, they shifted into our operations, and now they do tremendous work in our operations program. One of the biggest ones you see is on nights like tonight, they'll go out and they'll do severe weather, where at one time when they first started, nobody knew what we were doing with that. I used to have to call all the stations before and say, hey, if you guys have anything going on that CERT can handle, give them a call. Yeah, Harry, you want to come up? And so what used to happen is we used to call and let everyone know that. Now you'll hear on the radio when there's trees down and everything like that, CERT will be one of the highly requested units of our department. And it frees up our engine companies and allows us to go out and serve the public in a way that doesn't limit us to just protecting that one area. Harry's an incredible individual, very professional individual. When he joined the CERT program, he went through the EMT program so he could help teach our CERT program members the higher level of EMS calls. And so he's a program manager. He's the medical training lead. He trains individuals in the public on Stop the Bleed. Once we started doing a lot of calls, our CERT program during the COVID time, we started dropping off because we couldn't have the classes. And then a bunch of our members went and became FEMA certified in order to go out and teach the CERT basic class. And Harry was one of those individuals that did it. He's always the individual that steps up and makes sure that we're able to do things at the highest level we possibly can. Harry was also instrumental in being one of the members who brought our firefighter rehab program, where you'll see like when they're doing trainings or when they're doing extended calls, they'll go out and they'll provide ways for them to cool down and everything like that. Just an incredible service that the individuals do. And Henry is also our technical liaison to our IT program. He's able to bring our CERT program up to a certain level that allows us to be able to outreach. We're very happy to have had him for the last 15 years, and unfortunately, he's going to be moving because his grandchild has moved to a different state, and so we're just happy to be able to have the opportunity to get in front of you and recognize him for all the things he's done. The services that Harry has done and the changes he's done to the CERT program will not only have the effect that we see today, but will be lasting effects that we'll see throughout all of our careers. So without any further ado,
Come here, I gotta give you a hug. I'm gonna do that, but I'm gonna give you a hug. Thank you for 15 years. I enjoyed seeing you excel many functions, and you're a true professional. You will be missed.
say something, Harry?
I have a time limit, 30 seconds, so somebody keep me accountable. It's been a privilege to be a member of CERT for the last 15 years. It's been an opportunity to serve the public in areas that you can't do on your own, and it was a outreach program of CERT in the buildings that I worked in back in 2009 that gave me an introduction to CERT. And Lucinda and Betty came to our office and gave us an introduction to CERT. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. I could do that. Had no idea what it was going to lead to. So thank you for the opportunity to grow and to use my leadership skills and my medical background and my training in ways that I just never thought possible. And even as I leave, I'm going to miss it. But the good thing is Woodbury, Minnesota has a CERT program. And I will be joining them very soon.
Yeah, you
can have the CERT guys come up and have a picture.
Yeah, get us.
The ones present. There you go.
As we make our way back to the seats, I also, Harry's probably biggest supporter and also volunteering her time, his wife Lisa, wanted to say thank you to her for all the time you've given up with him and enjoy the grandchildren out in Minnesota. So congratulations. And that ends the operations report unless there's questions.
Yeah, do we have any comments or questions from the board? Director Rice?
I just want to say thank you. In the last month, like many firefighters, have spent a tremendous amount of time in the Los Angeles area and have watched CERT teams all over the state doing different functions. And I want to thank you guys. I remember being a captain at Station 21 when it was kind of in its infancy with Alan Getru and what it's grown to. And I think there's more, I think there's probably more coming, especially as we start to think more about earthquakes and some of the things that can have an effect community-wide and these incidents that are getting to be kind of all hands. So just, I thank you for being a core in our community and the service you provide. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments from my colleagues? I'm going to do something a little unconventional. I just want to open it up to any of the members of the CERT team that are here that want to come up and give a couple minutes, say something to your colleague on wish him well. If any of you want to come up and say something, the mic is yours.
I saw all the eyes drop. That was the nonverbal communication was there.
Yeah, it just takes one to get it started. All right. Well, thank you again for your service. Thank you for all the time you put in. I've seen you at a number of events over the years, and always a pleasure, always a big smile, and you always seem to have all the kids around you doing the sidewalk CPR and playing with the different props that you have. So thanks for everything you do. All right. Chief Mitchell, that was it? All right. We do have a support services report. Welcome back, Chief Wagaman. It's good to see you again.
Thank you, President Wood, directors, Chief House, members of Metro Fire, and members of the community. First off, thank you, Chief Mitchell, for moving the chair. I think I was already set up to maybe go back on medical again, but certainly an honor and a privilege to be back at the podium after being off for 7 months. I had some parts replaced, and boy, it is really good to be back. It's not until you leave this organization that you realize how fast and how big of a machine we are. Because you keep going, you try to keep going while staying focused on something else. And it's right about that point that you realize how incredibly amazing and fast-paced we are in what we do. With that being said, this is my first week back, short week. I've had the opportunity to sit down with about half of the support services managers, and they have caught me up on where we were, where we are, and most importantly, where we're going, and I appreciate that. I hope to get those meetings completed by the end of next week. I am pleased to report that the leadership demonstrated by the Support Services Division managers was definitely marked with positivity, productivity, and unwavering dedication in my absence. And for that, I'm beyond appreciative. So thank you, team. Thank you. With those conversations, I was able to extract some of the great things that the Support Services divisions are doing. I will highlight a couple of those with you here this evening. First off, starting with the Facilities Division, a restroom over in the Arson Investigation Building, 3000 Fulton Avenue, was completely rebuilt, and it was much needed, as well as the entire roof was replaced just before this wonderful storm that we're getting hit by. The Station Privacy Project, which we've been working on now for 3 years, and Director Stark, a very important project as we have some fire stations that provide little to no privacy in our sleeping areas, and we've been working slowly at starting to provide some privacy at those stations, starting with Station 50, then 51 and 55. And our team is currently working at Station 51, and I'm hearing that that project is going to be completed tomorrow. So strong work with our facilities team. Station 105 had a pretty significant water leak, caused a lot of dry rot damage, and about half of that roof was recently replaced, and luckily it was replaced in time to protect the brand new kitchen that was just installed a year ago there. On the fleet front, over the past few months, 5 new ambulances were received, outfitted, and placed into service. We expect 2 additional ambulances and 4 new squads here in the coming months, hopefully by April. That's the goal. We also received a brand new arson vehicle where we're waiting for some upfitting parts to arrive, and as soon as they are, we'll get that vehicle upfitted, installed, and placed in service as well. For our community risk reduction, I would like to bring up Chief Nygren to highlight some of the accomplishments within the Fire Investigations Bureau.
Good evening, Board of Directors, Chief House, out-of-class Fire Marshal Amy Nygren. I just want to highlight some of the amazing work of our Fire Investigations Unit. Over the last 6 weeks, they've conducted 39 origin and cause investigations, so that's just from the beginning of the year. And then out of that, 24 of them were considered incendiary. 4 we were able to get an arrest on. So it's amazing work that they've been doing. In addition, there's 2 cases that are open that will have additional charges added for fire causes. So amazing work from our investigations team. That's Alex Morton, Jeff Sargent, out-of-class investigator Krista Aney, and our brand new investigator Ryan Davis, who started January 2nd. So that's a great work that they're doing, and we appreciate everything that they do.
Great, thank you, Chief Nygren. With that, that concludes the Support Services report for this evening, unless you have any questions for me.
Thanks so much, Chief. Do we have any comments or questions from the board? All I have is welcome back.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. I understand there's no administrative services report, but Chief Eureka, welcome. Look forward to working with you in that role.
Thank you.
Moving on, 522, firefighters 522 report. Good day, welcome, Trevor.
Thank you. Directors, Chief House, administration, staff, public. It's always great to be back here in front of directors that I consider all good friends and huge supporters of the community and what we do. I felt it was important tonight when Measure O is kind of being presented to show up again. I came in front of you, I'm not sure exactly, it's probably maybe 8 months ago now, when I asked for the board to be 100% behind us on Measure O. And it came to fruition and we passed it. The trust that has been placed in us by the community is so important. The trust that is placed on the men and women of this agency day in and day out is important. It's not lost on us that these type of things that when we ask for these things that we've never asked before, that we do this in a way that is respectful to those people who trust us. We've been partners in this. I will tell you that the advocacy that we were able to spin up on the labor side was second to none. Many people commented to us about our ability to highlight what we can do, what we're gonna do. And we use this logo, Local 522, Sacramento Area Firefighters, to be the advocates to the community. It's important that as we were a stakeholder, the biggest stakeholder is the community. But I remember the presentation leading up to Measure O, and I was fortunate enough to be involved in some of the early conversations when we looked at what does the polling look like, what is it gonna look like? And one of the stakeholders mentioned was us, like who's gonna go out there and advocate for this. So I feel a huge sense of responsibility representing all the men and women of Local 522 that Measure O is something that should be a crown jewel, and I'll say it's a crown jewel in my career. You know, there's a lot of them, but right now, to be able to leave this place way, way better than I found it when I got here, it's super important. And I do not want to be left out moving forward. I want to make sure that the men and women on the labor side are continued to be consulted and ask their opinions. I know there's a staff that has to manage this, and I know the board has implement oversight, and there's an ad hoc committee. I understand all that. But I think it's super important that we are constantly asked about what we think is right. And before a final decision is made, does it ring right to you? You know, what do you guys all think? Is it gonna fit this fire station? Is there things that you think we should be looking at? These things will change. It's 10 years. We have 10 years. Things will change. So my ask is that we are not left out of this, that we continue to be part of the solution, because I know one thing, I mean, I am so proud to work for Metro Fire. I'm so proud to lead the men and women of Local 522. It means the world to me. It really does. And I feel like I can tell the members that I represent that we are trying to leave it better for them. We're working on everything, not only facilities, we're also working on their pensions. We do so many things to look forward to the future. And I just want to be here to say, like, we are looking out for it, and we really, really want to be part of it. And I know that you guys all know that. I know that staff here knows that. I know the public trusts us. They voted overwhelmingly to trust us. And so I just needed to say that in a public setting. I appreciate all your support. I appreciate each and every one of you stepping up and serving the community. I mean, it's not an easy job what you all do. So I appreciate it, and taking our calls and listening to us. It's very important, and we really appreciate it. So thank you so much. And the last thing I want to close with is this. I'm going to pile on Andy Whaley. I just want to say Andy's one of those guys that if you know him, you know he does a lot of stuff. You see some of the stuff he does, but he does a lot of unseen things, and that's what makes the fire service great. And those people who do the unseen things, who take care of people in really bad times, that's Andy. And so I want to say thank you, Andy, because you've always been a super help. Whenever you needed to do something, or I needed help with something, or give me a little advice in my ear about something that was going on with a member, he's always been there. So thank you, Andy, and hope you have a great retirement. Thank you all.
Thanks so much, Trevor. Do we have any comments or questions from the board? Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to committee and delegate reports. The Executive Committee has nothing to report at this time. Comm Center JPA, Deputy Chief Mitchell.
Thanks again, President Wood. Our last meeting for the JPA was actually canceled on the 11th. Our next meeting is going to be in these chambers on the 25th of this month, and I expect to have a report for the meeting after that.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions for the chief? No? Thank you. Finance and Audit Committee, Director Jones.
Thank you, President Wood. The Finance and Audit Committee will be meeting next February 27th, 5:30 in these chambers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director Jones. Policy Committee, Director Clark.
Yes, Policy Committee met today at 5:30. And we had a presentation item. It was regarding the Administration Policy 02.004.03, and it was a discipline policy. We received a presentation and reviewed the edited discipline policy, and basically just some notification. It doesn't come out of committee and go to the board. So.
Thank you so much, Director Clark.
Our next meeting is March 13th at 5 p.m. 5:30 p.m.
Thank you so much. Moving on now to board member comments and questions. I'll start to my left, Director Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. No comment tonight.
Moving to my right with Director Sailors.
I have no comments, thank you.
Director Stark. Director Rice.
Just wanted to, I know it's been a month, but have spent quite a bit of time in Los Angeles doing some relief work and then really some legislative work. But to acknowledge all California firefighters, it's probably taken place. It's very frustrating to me when the narrative in the press talks about building losses and a group of buildings saved via an independent action or hiring private fire protection. And the narrative really should be that California firefighters, Los Angeles City, County, Pasadena, Sierra Madre, Burbank, Glendale, all those departments that were first in, and then the mutual aid companies that came in after, we only lost 27 people, and that is extremely tragic. They were moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas and brothers and sisters. But to have the main focus be about lost buildings when the men and women of the fire service rose that day, and they are the reason that those numbers are not in the thousands. Could you imagine if we were talking about 17,000 souls lost as opposed to 17,000 buildings? And it's humbling to be in a position to be associated with and to serve the members of the California Fire Service. So there are a lot of people out there that are not lost on the effort that was put into that. And I had to pass that on. Nobody does what California firefighters do, period. Nobody. And your training and your commitment to your communities is second to none. And, you know, from a District 7 resident and a director here and a past employee and a firefighter always, I'm very proud of the men and women of the California Fire Service. Thank you all.
Director Clark.
Yes, I'd like to thank the CERT team for all the years of service that they've provided us. And I forgot the gentleman's last name, Mr. Harry. Thank you for your years of service and Godspeed in Minnesota. And also, like, once again, welcome back Chief Wagman to the, he's well, he looks good, so. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Director. Director Weber?
Again, thank you to all the CERT members. Congratulations on your retirement here, but your next chapter, good for you for continuing that service. So thank you all CERT members. And lastly, one last thing to Andy. I had the privilege of working with Andy for many, 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 many years. He was an excellent firefighter, extremely professional firefighter, very, very competent. He ran around with a rough crew sometimes. But he's always been a professional. And we talk about this when we're in front of people or somebody's watching us. And he's always done the right thing and just an incredible human being without the badge on as well. I congratulate you on your retirement. Sometimes we go out the way we want, sometimes we don't. But nevertheless, I congratulate you on your retirement. Hopefully you don't fail like most of us up here have at retirement. You do it right and stay healthy, my friend.
Thank you, Director. I will echo what's already been said, and I just want to add a couple of things. I did get a chance to come out and see the Citizens Academy yesterday, and just want to, I saw the presentations that Jeff put on and Dave O'Toole did. They were both great. Questions that were asked were amazing. The people that were involved were engaged. Our conference room across the hall here was packed. It was just, I told there were 26 people, but it felt like it was a lot more in there. So Chief Bethal and April, you guys did a great job, and congratulations, and hopefully this continues on with that great success and into the future. So thanks for all the work that you guys do. The boot drive was awesome. It was a absolutely outstanding event despite the rain. And Chief, thanks for all your participation, and Chief Mitchell, Chief Fiorica out there. Saw a lot of our members were well represented. Having the helicopter there was outstanding. All the kids that got to climb through it and meeting our pilots that were out there. When it finally took off, there's a huge ring of people around with cameras watching it go into the sky. So it was really exciting, and I thank everyone that came out and supported the Burn Institute. Being that, you know, for those in the fire service, there's not a better organization to support than that institute. With that, we will go into closed session. Hopefully none of you are here when we come back. We're out of closed session. Council Lavra, would you mind reporting out, please?
Yes, thank you, Director Wood. The board met in closed session for 4 items that are listed on the closed session agenda. First was the workers' compensation claim of Jason Cahill. The board voted unanimously to give authority to its third-party workers' compensation administrator to effectuate a settlement of that workers' compensation claim. Number 2, the board met concerning the workers' compensation claim of Eric House. The board voted unanimously to give authority to its third-party administrator to effectuate a settlement of that workers' compensation claim. Next, the board met in closed session for agenda item number 2 for the industrial disability retirement of employee Stephen Johnson. No reportable action was taken in closed session, and that will proceed in open session now. The board also met in closed session regarding the industrial disability retirement of Andrew Whaley. No reportable action was taken, and the board will proceed with consideration of that matter on the open session. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on now and consider item 2, item -1, Stephen Johnson's industrial disability retirement. Can I get a motion on that?
So moved. Or second.
All right, I got Director Stark with the motion and Director Rice with the second. Can we get the roll, please?
Yes. Director Saylors.
Aye.
Director Stark.
Yes.
Director Clark. Director Rice.
Aye.
Director Jones.
Aye.
Director Weber.
Aye.
President Wood.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on, we have the industrial disability retirement matter of Captain Andrew Whaley. Can I get a motion for that, please?
Mr. President, I'd like to make the motion for an industrial disability retirement for Captain Andrew Whaley.
I would like to second, please.
I've got a motion and a second. Can I get the roll, please?
Perfect. Yes. Director Saylors.
Aye.
Director Stark.
Yes.
Director Clark.
Aye.
Director Rice.
Aye.
Director Jones.
Aye.
Director Weber.
Aye.
President Wood.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you so much. That concludes our meeting. Our next one will be here in these chambers on February 27th at 5 o'clock. We adjourn till then. Thank you.